Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptamena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So I want to spend some time going through these Guru Stotram verses and just connected with what we've been talking about, because we read this every day, but just might be good to just have some exposition on that. So welcome to morning Satsang. This is Sachin here. Today is the 13th of August, 2021. So this particular verse, the first one is Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So this particular word, Akhanda Mandalakaram, what does that mean? That what we consider to be this universe, everything that is in our field of perception through our five senses, that is the world, that is the universe, essentially. So that's, Akhanda means full. The fullness of experience is talked about here. See, what we have here in our body, in our mind, in our perception is a partial experience. So let's be clear about this point. It gets a little bit philosophical, but I don't want to get abstract about it too much. What we have is definitely a partial experience. I'm going to give you some examples of what we mean by this. Okay, so first of all, our eyes capture a certain range of experience. They don't capture everything that is there. That's why in scientific methodology we use telescopes and microscopes, electron microscopes, to see more of reality. It is an extension of our eyes. Even our ears can only hear a certain range of frequency, not all sound. Our tongue can only taste certain range of experience. Same thing is true with everything, this touch and all of that. So this particular first word here, Akhanda Mandalakaram, is first referring to the fullness of experience, which we do not have. Not in the state of the Jiva. In the state of the Sadguru, yes, there is the fullness of the entire experience. Experience meaning not experience as we see it, the fullness of reality. So Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam. So that is referring to that the Atma, the Paramatma or the Brahman, is Vyapak, meaning it is present within the fullness of material reality. Okay, very interesting. See, first of all, there is the fullness of material reality which we don't even grasp. Even the different fields of study, scientific endeavors, social endeavors, you go to all the departments in the universities, if you pull them all together, they still will not be able to capture the fullness of this experience. In fact, if you put all of the literature and research and everything done by all the universities in the whole history of humanity, by all thinkers, by everybody, if you done through the intellect, if you put all of that together, which would be like just God knows how much material, all that material still would not compare to this first word, Akhanda Mangalakaram. That's how powerful this Guru Stotram is. And it's very clear. Those are different aspects of reality they're trying to capture. Engineering and physics and psychology and biology and philosophy and all that. But this is talking about a level completely beyond that. Complete fullness of experience. And then on top of the fullness of reality, it is even describing that the Atma is Vyapak, meaning it is present within the fullness of that reality. Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam. See, char and achar, movable and immovable phenomena. Like for example, this water bottle I'm holding, this is immovable. But if there is a living being like a cat or a dog or a frog or a human being or whatever, it's moving. So that is called char achar, chara achara. And then the next part is that tat padam. Now what does that mean? That's the Atma. Tat tvam asi. Tat padam means the state of tat. Tat is that state, that thou, that I am that. Who am I? I am that being that is present in all beings. I am that being that is present in all immovable phenomena. I am that being that is present in all of creation. Akhandamandala akaram vyaptam yena characharam. Wow. What a concept, even. Just as a concept, incredible. The Tat Padam. Now, what is this? This stotram is about the Guru, Sadguru, the enlightened being. So that Tat Pad, that you are that Brahma Tattva, you are that being that is present everywhere. You are not this small limited jiva. You are the Atma that is present in every part of the Brahmand. Because each Atma, according to Vishishta Advaita, is Vyapak to one Brahmand. That's a little bit more technical. We won't go into that now. But each Atma, Jivatma, is present fully in the Brahmand. Just as this particular Jivatma is present in this body, the same Jivatma is actually present everywhere, in all bodies, everywhere. It's the oneness of experience. So, this second part of the verse, Tat Padam. Padam meaning state of awakening. Pad means like a particular position, to be in a particular position. But this is a position of enlightenment, not like a materialistic position of. That's not what that is referring to. So Tat Tvam Asi. This is the Mahavakya. Tat means that. Tvam means you. Asi means existence. You are that existence. Tat Tvam Asi. It is a Upanishadic Mahavakya. So Tat Padam, that Pad, that state of being, I am in that state. Every true Sadguru, any tradition, anywhere in the history of humanity has realized this fact. So Tat Padam. Now the next word is even more interesting. Darshitam Yena. That the Sadguru is giving through the manifested body the darshan of that existence, and is manifesting the technology and the method and process and understanding and sadhana for those who are not in that state to realize that state. That is the darshitam is referring to that. Darshit means what? It is the expression of the enlightened state in the context of this verse. That tatpad, yes, somebody may be in that state, but they may be in that state in nirvikalpa samadhi, and nobody knows anything about it. A person is sitting with their eyes closed and they're just gone into samadhi. This happened before and it continues to happen. But the same being who is Brahmanishta, who has Brahma Sakshatkar, who is living in this state of Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptamena Characharam, now is awakened back into the material world, functioning like we are, with talking and thinking and moving and all of that. So that being is manifesting and emitting through the body and the mind this tatpad, the Atma Sakshatkar, is being emitted. It is a living enlightenment. Why? Tatpadam darshitam yena. Yena meaning that Guru is thus expressing it, is being expressed. And then the last three words, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, that such a guru, such a being, that is Tasmai, such a being, is a real guru who is going to take us from darkness to enlightenment. Guru. Gu means agnan, ignorance, vasanas, difficulties, entrapments, all that list of stuff. Doshas, antarshatru, inner enemies, all that thing is gu. And ru is the Atma Prakash, is the God, Paramatma, Atma Paramatma. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Now why? Gurave meaning that towards such a guru, now you see the connection, that the bhakta, the mumukshu, the sadhaka, one who is wanting this state, such a being is going to, at the feet of the guru, enlightened sage, bow down. Namaha means namaskar, meaning what? What it means is the letting go totally of the ego we were talking about yesterday. Namaha, not me. See, na-maha. That really means not me. But so it's been given exposition of as bowing down. That's like the more physical expression of bowing down to someone else. What it really means is not the limited me, the limited individualized person with his distorted memories and vasanas and attachments and problems and all the mess that is in all of our minds as human beings. No, that's not me. So then what am I? Actually, that last word, Namaha, has the entire secret. That I am not this being, this limited being. I am everything else here. That Sadguru, that is my real state. See, in Vachanamrutam, Sajanand Swami Maharaj has explained this point very beautifully. He has stated that the Atma, that the realization of the Atma, Atma Darshan, jisko kehte hain, Atma Sakshatkar, that Atma Sakshatkar occurs when there is deep love towards Guru. So it's not the physical form. We may begin with the physical form. It's this state that the Sadguru is in this, and we love that state. So by attaching through the physical manifested being into the state, we are able to reach the Atma Sakshatkar. Otherwise, there is another perspective. There's another group of thinkers or sadhaks or even perhaps sages. They would say that no, you don't need any guru, you don't need anybody. You just be in this state. Oh, you can try. Go and try it and see if it works. I'm not saying anything. It's a matter of experimentation. You know, I've even, as a reference, I'm telling you, I've even heard Sarvapriyananda Swami from the Ramakrishna Mission, and his videos are there on Advaita Vedanta. He mentioned one time that there are certain Vedantic practitioners who are not going to be interested in reading any scriptures, any gurus, nothing at all. They don't even go to temples or anything like that. They may, but they don't. The only thing that they only do one type of meditation. And I'm not saying I recommend this. I'm just pointing it out here, just as a different viewpoint. That they are only interested in one thing, and that is their direct experiences that are occurring in the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. जागृत सपन और सुषुप्ति का जो अनुभव है वो ही इनका रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट है. They are not interested in reading 100 books and doing other things. They may have read those things and they say leave all these things aside. We just want to be in nature. We want to live our ordinary life, to have some food, water, clothing, shelter, and we just want to dive actually into the consciousness and leave all the scriptures and everything aside. Something like this is what J. Krishnamurti has talked about. Something like this. But not exactly, but something like this. Yes, you can try. I mean, it is a path. You can certainly, there is something to be said for that also. Nonetheless, I'll give you my perspective on this and why that is a bit tenuous. It is because our mind is embedded with the causal body, the Karana Sharira. And the causal body is not something, at least from my perspective and what I have studied in my own experiences, it is not something that you are going to be able to transcend just by your efforts. Maybe you can get to some level of Atma Sakshatkar. Yes, maybe. It's purely hypothetical. But very, very unlikely. The causal body is destroyed when there is deep attachment towards God, Paramatma, and an attachment or a great giving over of the ego towards the true enlightened sages. If we don't give over the ego, as I mentioned before, that same ego is going to create the illusion of Brahmagnan. And that has happened. And you would not be able to know what the difference is. So it will look like the person has become enlightened. And it's not enlightenment, it is the illusion of enlightenment. Because the ego is projecting enlightenment. Quote enlightenment. It's not enlightenment. You know what it's like? It's like if you take $100 bill, or actually I was creating some pictures and all that, and I came across a picture with like a box of these, just stacks of $100 bills, right? It's a picture. Probably like $1 million was in there or something like that. Now, if I see that picture, does that mean I have $1 million? Of course not. It's just an image of the actual thing. It's a reflection of the actual thing. Similarly, the ego can take spiritual ideas, truths, and reflect it to the world, and the world might think this person is enlightened. And that is totally not the case. It looks like enlightenment, 100%. See, that is why this word here, tat padam darshitam yena, why that is relevant? That it is an actual manifestation of the reality, not an ego projected manifestation of the reality. In Vachanamrut language, Maharaj has explained there that most of the people doing satsanga are doing all sadhana and satsanga and everything else based on the force of the ego. We don't even know we're doing that. So to become aware of this phenomena, genuinely, honestly, truly, the Guru Stotram is there just for that purpose. So we can dive into the depth of it. Again, there is profound depth, obviously, in every word here. This is just the first verse. And then all the other verses are only going to talk about the same idea in different ways. There's so much beauty in this. Now, if you take this a bit further, I could watch my time here because we need many, many hours to talk about this, but we do a little bit at a time every day. It's fine. There's no way to drink the ocean, but we can drink some drops from the ocean. So, natural question might come about. In my mind also, in anybody's mind, it's natural question would come about. How is this to be accomplished? How do we even recognize such an enlightened being? Well, there's two approaches to take. There is a methodical, step-by-step approach that one can take, which I would like to call a process-oriented approach. And then there is a backdoor via negativa through negation approach. I'll just briefly mention today what they are. Maybe we can expand upon that tomorrow and then connect some other things together. The more step-by-step methodical approach is to study the scriptures, to really listen to the sages, reflect upon what they're saying, see where I am, where is my state of realization, what development I need to go through, things like this. And if we do this in a collaborative way with the sages. And in today's world, it can be done through technology, scriptures. It can be done with actual people. There's 100 ways of doing it. So that is a methodical approach. And in doing so, one begins to realize for oneself that who I am is not just this limited being. Now that actually begins to happen when one crosses the chaos within the antakarana, as I mentioned yesterday. The antakarana, mana, buddhi, chit, ahankar. Manas, buddhi, chit, ahankar, the four functions, they are just instruments, but there's a lot of chaos within that, a lot of confusion and distortion, sukshma sharir stuff. That gets all cleaned out, as we mentioned before, right? So once we cross that is where this tat-pad, that tattvam-asi, that begins to reveal itself. Oh, I am this. I am not this limited confusion with this small family and particular tradition and race and small groupism. Everything that is divisive in the sansara disappears internally. It still remains externally. One of the gurus explained this very well. I'm not sure who it was. Maybe it was Swami Chinmayananda. I'm not sure. I'm just giving as a reference. And I will give references to different gurus from time to time, and teachers, just for the purpose of giving a reference. So he has, I think it was him who mentioned, or maybe it was somebody else, I'm not sure, that, we see that mrukjal, that reflection of light that looks like water in the desert or on the road sometimes. But if we think that is water, then that's a mistake. But even if you realize that that's not water, like the deer running towards it, hypothetically, if they realize that's not water, that doesn't mean you stop seeing it. You still see the same thing. So similarly, this world of names and forms, we're still going to see the same thing. Not something different is not going to appear like that. Although there are some states of mind where something extraordinary may happen, but that's a different subject. So the same world is seen, but it is now seen as it is for what it is, as opposed to getting into a distorted or an illusory vision of it. This is what Shankaracharya is saying. Shankaracharya is saying that the Maya is an illusion. It doesn't actually exist. What you think is there is not there. Something else is there. So what that something else is the Atma that is present, that is its power or its light is reflected in Prakriti. And then that reflection we are enjoying or suffering and experiencing. So the Atma's reflection within Prakriti is what it produces the names and forms. Naam, Rup, Jagat, Akar. And yes, it's produced this way. That is also a power of the Brahman. जो कहते हैं ना माया भी क्या है, ये भगवान की एक शक्ति है. But that's one way to look at it. Some people who are pure Devi upasak, they would say that no, सब महामाया है, सब भगवान और सब अवतार सब महामाया के अंदर है. That's a different subject. Some other time we'll touch that interesting subject. But the fact is that the Naam and Roop, the names and forms that we experience, we are going to continue to experience them. But the difference is the awakening out of the Sukshma Sharir and the causal body into the Atma. Once that occurs, then that Atma Tattva begins to shine, and now you can see things exactly as they are in the right light. And so there is not a rejection of the world, there is seeing the world in its real nature. That it is temporary, it is fleeting, all the joys and pleasures are temporary, they come and go, they are neuropsychological phenomena only, they're waves, urmi, they're waves on the substratum of consciousness. This is a realization. Sachin saying that doesn't mean Sachin has realized that. I'm just through my research and contemplation, I'm sharing only, that's all. But this is an actual realization. And in this actual realization, there is tremendous freedom. Isko mukti kehte hain. One is freed from the clutches of Maya. Sattva gun, rajogun, tamogun. We mentioned many times before. So to be unclutched. See how beautiful what the indicators are. That everywhere, wherever we look, wherever we see this universe, anything we see, akhanda mandalakaram, everywhere, vyapak, vyaptam yena characharam, present everywhere. God is present everywhere. The devotees, those who are not following Advaita Vedanta but are following some of the other forms of Vedanta that are devotional in nature, would consider that God, Paramatma, Purushottam Bhagwan, Aksharatit Paramatma, whatever name we want to use for it, that same Lord, that same being is present everywhere. So my Lord, my Ishtadevata is present everywhere. Right? This is a very beautiful way of going about it. And in my opinion, a little bit easier than thinking that just me, I'm everywhere. That's where the ego can take hold of that. So wo bahut difficult baat hai. Although there's no doubt, through the enlightened Guru, that's why the Guru Stotram is there. Once we connect with the Guru, our ego dissolves. So once we recognize the state of the Guru, see in the Gujarati language and in Swaminarayan Satsang, there's something called Olkhan. It means recognition. And by the way, even in the Himalayan scriptures on non-dual Shaivism, this is called recognition. It's called the recognition sutras. The same concept is there. People don't know all this thing. If I was to mention to people in Swaminarayan Sampradaya that there's a connection from something from the Himalayas, they would think I was out of my mind. They say, what are you talking about? We never heard of all this thing. So they have no idea mostly about all, because they haven't done the research behind that. That's all. And it's not easy to do that because it can get very confusing. But the fact of the matter, even someone like Sajanand Swami Maharaj, who was in the Himalayas for quite a while, he probably had exposure to all those kinds of things also, but the thing is, many gurus, they don't directly tell you everything because they can see what is the capacity of people to understand. And on that basis, based on time, circumstance, the people in front of them, the culture in front of them, on that basis they will reveal what they have realized to some extent. But it's an interesting thing. All I'm trying to say here is that there is an interconnection among all the gurus, all the scriptures, all the sampradayas. They all cross-connect together. Because in the Sanatana Dharma is not something in its real sense. It's not an intellectually created thing. It is a revelation. It is revealed to the sages, to the mind of the sages from the higher dimension. So on that point, see, that's why this verse, akhanda mandalakaram vyaptamena characharam, why that is relevant, because it takes us out of the limited thinking and enclaves that humanity is stuck in, whether they're political enclaves or religious enclaves, or whether they are cultural enclaves, cultural or linguistic limitations, one language versus another language. Yes, those are the expressions of Maya. But we want to transcend all of that and see the root, actually see the Paramatma beyond all of this differentiation. Otherwise, we will just be caught in the differentiation. So, the Tatpad is that state of non-differentiation, is a state of pure joy, is a state of seeing God everywhere. Again in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, there was a great sage called Muktanand Swami, and he has written these beautiful Gujarati poems. They're called padas, and he's written there that Ja juve te Ramaji biju na bhase re. Anubhavi anandama brahmarasana bhogire. What does it mean? Wherever you see Paramatma, Bhagwan Ram, you see Bhagwan Krishna, you see the Sadguru. What a state that is. This is such an awakened state. It's because the truth is constantly opening in front of us. And that is actually true in terms of Prakriti also. Because we are within Prakriti. So that's where Guru Dattatrayaji's teachings come into play. He made a guru out of everything. There's 24 gurus of Dattatreya, but they're like, Prithvi, Jal, Vayu, Tej, Akash. He made gurus. He took some good teaching from whoever he came across. So in reality, actually, Guru Tattva is present everywhere. If we have the vision and the understanding to perceive it as such. And that vision and understanding comes to those who are seeking liberation. It doesn't come to those who are not seeking its liberation. The people who are not seeking liberation are just going to be caught within the clutches of Rajogun, Tamogun, Ahankar, Maya, Vasanas, running, lifetime after lifetime, yoni after yoni. They are just stuck in the Brahmanda. So Sanatana Dharma is the most extraordinary doorway into liberation. Other religions are also there. Other approaches are also there. We're talking about Sanatana Dharma here. So if we want to be a liberated being, every possibility exists. And it's not a factor of time so much. It is just realization, because time is going to go on. Our body is continuing to change. We're getting new experiences day in and day out. Every experience is a guru. See, I don't know if we look at it that way. Every experience, good, bad, neutral, positive, negative, hurtful, painful, enjoyable, ego-driven, ego non-driven, every experience, every phenomena is guru. It is guru when we have the wisdom to gain realization, the ability to extract that purified understanding from that experience or that phenomena. And those who are able to do that all the time, these are the only people, in my opinion, who actually enter into this state of Sadguru. That they're in the state of Tatpadam. There is a scripture called Vedras in Swaminarayan Sampradaya again. And by the way, when I refer to these Sampradayas, that doesn't mean groupism. Actually, the word Sampradaya, although many would say that refers to groups and all that, it's really not the intention of anybody starting that. The intention is to recreate the anubhav that the originator has himself or herself gone into. I mean, it's like take for example like an experiment in physics or chemistry. If someone is successful in that experiment, they keep all the data and keep track of everything. Then they publish it in a research article, and then they publish it so other people can recreate it also. So it's like that. So all the sampradayas given by the different Sadgurus or started by them are an attempt to recreate what they have realized. It is not about groupism. It is not about sectarianism. It is not about one group versus another. Once we get into those things, one group versus another, one sect versus another, and if love is damaged, the whole spirituality is killed right there. It doesn't matter what we do after that. The moment, even if the thought comes that I am better than somebody, that my approach is, you may think your approach is better, but the me versus the you comes into the spiritual realm, it is destroying completely the spirituality. There's not even a hope of spirituality left. Even though sadhana is done, scriptures are written, pravachans are done, YouTube channels are created, everything can be created. It is all Maya only. It is Maya because it is created by the individual, or people are approaching it with divisiveness. No. Never is that to be done. If that is done, we have taken the most extraordinary teachings of the great sages and put them into our own ignorance and used our ignorance to fragment them further. And by doing that, so many problems have already occurred, even within Sanatana Dharma, even within the world itself. That is not the teachings of the scriptures. It is not the teachings of the Upanishads. It is not the teachings of the Vedas. It is not the teachings of the Gita. Nowhere in these scriptures does it say to do these things. And if anybody is doing them, they're totally lost, 100% lost, not 99% lost. And that is the harsh truth, whether one realizes it or not. To get to this state, look at what this just first verse is saying. Akhanda mandalakaram vyaptam inacharacharam. Who is left out in this? Every animal, every being, every tree, every insect, every rock, everybody is included. Such a heart we can have. Once we have that heart, then as needed, time and circumstance and place, we then interact with people. Because, one of the things that the Bhagavad Gita says, Sachin is not saying all these things, by the way. I'm just giving an exposition based on my understanding. But there's a reference to everything which is being said here. The Bhagavad Gita says this very clearly, and I don't mean this with any disrespect to quote this. It says it, Sri Krishna says, do not disturb small-minded fools. Literally, this is the expression. Those people who are small-minded, you can see that their mind is small. Leave them alone. Pray for them. Don't leave, because they're not ready to understand these things. Their mind is too small. Leave them alone. Bless them. Wish good for them. Try to encourage them a little bit. Because if you disturb them, they will disturb you. And they will try to bring you into their limitation. So, ye jo baat hai, is a very, very tricky thing, because we're living in the sansar, but most of the people who are just caught in the sansar. They don't even know what it means to be out of that. So those individuals who are so much stuck with small-mindedness, you can see it. You would know from inside, if you are evolved, that they are stuck somewhere. Leave them alone. Pray good, wish good for them. Sarva jiva hitava. That you should always wish good for all, but recognize where people are in their development. But even to do that, one has to be enlightened. So we don't have to even worry about any of that thing. At this stage, it's just to develop ourselves further. And then even if somebody is a small-minded individual or whatever, we recognize that in that state, but we also see the Paramatma in that state. That is a real Advaitic vision. We see the same Paramatma is present and playing in that role. So that is what Advaita would say. Vishishta would say that the God is present as a Sakshi within that person, or as a Karma Phal Pradata. He's giving the fruit of the action to that Jiva. That is a Tattvik, there's a little differentiation between Ramanuja and Shankaracharya on that point. Alright, so we'll stop this recording here, and we will continue with this and try to connect these pieces as we continue forward.